Right now, your home is quietly draining your money, and you don't even realize it. Every minute that passes, energy is slipping away through your walls, your ceiling, and the air around you, forcing you to pay for something you never agreed to lose. There's no sound, no warning, no visible sign, just a higher bill at the end of the month and a vague feeling that something isn't right. And the truth is, it isn't. You've been told to blame your appliances, your thermostat, or rising energy prices, but those are only distractions. The real problem is happening behind the surfaces you see every day, in a form so invisible that most people never question it. Even if you changed nothing, even if you used less electricity, your home would still be losing energy right now. That means you're not just paying for what you use. You're paying for what you're losing, and until you understand what's actually causing it, there's nothing you can do to stop it. But once you see it clearly, the solution becomes impossible to ignore. If you've ever looked at your energy bill and felt like something didn't make sense, you're not alone. Most people don't live in extreme conditions. They don't run their appliances all day, and they don't feel like they're wasting energy. And yet, month after month, the numbers keep climbing. You try to be careful. You turn things off when you're not using them. You adjust the thermostat. Maybe you've even invested in a more efficient air conditioner or heater, hoping that would finally bring the cost down. But the relief never really comes. The bill might drop slightly for a while, then it creeps back up again, leaving you frustrated and confused. It feels like no matter what you do, you're always paying more than you should. And over time, that frustration turns into acceptance. You stop questioning it. You start thinking this is just how it is. That energy is expensive and there's nothing you can do about it. But that belief is exactly what keeps the problem hidden. Because the system you're paying for isn't just charging you for what you use. It's quietly charging you for what your home is losing. And the longer that goes unnoticed, the more money disappears without you ever understanding why. At this point, most people turn to the same advice they've heard over and over again. Upgrade your air conditioner, buy a more efficient heater, install better windows, add thicker insulation. And on the surface, all of that sounds logical. These solutions are everywhere, repeated by companies, experts, and even government programs. But here's the uncomfortable truth. None of them are designed to solve the real problem you're dealing with. They focus on making your systems work harder or slightly more efficiently, not on stopping the energy from escaping in the first place. You end up spending thousands of dollars trying to fix something, only to see small, temporary improvements at best. And when the results don't match the cost, you're left wondering if it was even worth it. The problem isn't that these solutions are completely wrong. It's that they are incomplete. They ignore a critical pathway of energy loss that continues to drain your home no matter how advanced your equipment is. And until that missing piece is addressed, no upgrade will ever give you the results you were promised. So what if the real reason your home is losing energy has nothing to do with your appliances, your insulation, or anything you've been told to upgrade? What if the biggest source of that loss is something you can't see? Something that doesn't behave the way you think it does, and something none of those expensive solutions were ever designed to stop? And what if, instead of needing more powerful systems, what you actually need is a completely different way of thinking about how heat moves through your home? Because once you ask that question, everything changes. To understand this, we have to go back more than 200 years to a quiet experiment that changed the way we understand heat forever. In the year 1800, an astronomer named William Herschel was studying sunlight in a simple home laboratory. He wasn't trying to solve energy problems or invent new technology. He was curious about something basic. Did different colors of light carry different amounts of heat? To find out, he passed sunlight through a glass prism, spreading it into a spectrum of colors across his table. Then he placed thermometers in each band of color, carefully measuring how the temperature changed from violet to blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. As expected, the temperature gradually increased toward the red end of the spectrum. But then, almost as an afterthought, he placed one more thermometer just beyond the red light, in a region where there was no visible color at all. What he saw made no sense at first. The temperature there was even higher than in the red. In a place where there was no light, there was more heat. That single observation revealed something invisible but incredibly powerful. There was a form of energy beyond what the human eye could see, carrying heat without light. Herschel had just discovered infrared radiation, a hidden force that moves energy through space in a way most people never think about, yet experience every single day. What Herschel discovered still governs how heat moves through your home today, and it comes down to three fundamental mechanisms. Heat can travel through conduction, where energy moves directly through solid materials. It can move through convection, where warm air rises and cool air sinks, creating circulation. And then there is radiation, the one most people overlook. Radiant heat doesn't need contact or airflow. It travels in invisible waves, moving freely through space until it hits a surface. When it does, that surface absorbs the energy and heats up. This is the same reason you can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin even on a cold day. Inside your home, the same process is constantly happening. Your roof absorbs intense heat from sunlight, then radiates that energy downward into your living space. In colder conditions, heat from inside your home radiates outward, passing through walls and ceilings into the environment. The critical detail is this. Traditional insulation is designed mainly to slow conduction and partially reduce convection. It traps air, creating resistance to direct heat flow, but it does very little to stop radiant heat. Instead of reflecting that energy, most common building materials absorb it and gradually pass it through. That means even a well-insulated home can still be flooded with invisible heat in the summer and lose warmth in the winter. And this is where the real problem begins. The real problem is this. Your home isn't just losing energy because it isn't insulated well enough. It's losing energy because it was never designed to control radiant heat in the first place. All the upgrades you've been told to focus on are built around slowing heat down, not stopping it at the source. And radiant heat doesn't slow down the way you expect. It moves straight through space, hits a surface, and gets absorbed, turning your walls, your ceiling, and even your floors into storage for unwanted heat. That means your home is constantly acting like a sponge, soaking in energy during hot conditions and leaking it back out when you need it most. So even if you've invested in better equipment or thicker insulation, the core issue is still there, quietly working against you. This is why so many people do everything right and still end up with high energy bills. They're solving the wrong problem, while the real one continues untouched. The solution is surprisingly simple, and it works because it targets the exact mechanism most homes ignore. Instead of trying to slow heat down after it has already entered your space, you stop it before it ever becomes a problem. And the way you do that is by reflecting it. Radiant heat, unlike conduction or convection, can be redirected. It doesn't have to be absorbed. It can be bounced back toward its source. This is where a material as ordinary as aluminum changes everything. Aluminum has an extremely low emissivity, which means it reflects the vast majority of radiant heat that hits it instead of absorbing it. In practical terms, that means a thin, reflective surface can block a significant portion of the heat that would otherwise pass into or out of your home. This is the principle behind what's known as a radiant barrier. And the reason it feels almost unbelievable is because of how accessible it is. The same type of reflective material used in advanced thermal systems can be found in simple forms like aluminum foil or inexpensive reflective sheets. You can place it under your roof to reflect heat away before it enters your living space, or position it behind heat sources to redirect warmth back into the room, instead of letting it disappear into the walls. No heavy installation, no expensive upgrades, no complex systems, just a direct, physical way to stop energy from being wasted. This isn't just a clever trick or a DIY shortcut. The same principle has been used for decades in some of the most extreme environments ever encountered by humans. Engineers at NASA rely on reflective thermal systems to protect spacecraft and astronauts from temperature swings that can exceed hundreds of degrees. In space, where there is no air to carry heat, radiation becomes the dominant form of energy transfer, and controlling it is a matter of survival. The multi-layer insulation used on satellites and space missions is built from thin, reflective materials designed specifically to bounce radiant heat away, preventing it from being absorbed. That exact physics applies inside your home, just at a smaller scale. Independent research from institutions such as the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the Florida Solar Energy Center has shown that radiant heat can account for a major portion of heat gain in residential structures, especially through the roof. Studies have demonstrated that adding reflective barriers can significantly reduce heat transfer and improve overall energy efficiency when combined with traditional insulation. In real-world applications, homeowners who install radiant barriers in attics or use reflective panels behind heat sources often report noticeable reductions in energy use, not because they upgraded their systems, but because they finally addressed the pathway where the loss was actually happening. Now that you understand what's really happening, the next step is simple, and it's something you can act on immediately. If you live in a hot climate, consider installing a reflective barrier in your attic space. Even a basic layer of aluminum-based material can make a measurable difference by stopping heat before it enters your home. If you rely on radiators or heaters, placing a reflective surface behind them can redirect warmth back into the room instead of letting it disappear into the walls. And if you're renting or can't make permanent changes, applying removable reflective film to windows exposed to direct sunlight gives you a practical way to reduce heat gain without altering the structure. These are not expensive upgrades. They are small, intentional changes that align your home with how heat actually behaves. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about saving money. It's about understanding your environment, making smarter decisions, and refusing to keep paying for a problem you now know how to solve.